toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. Welcome. It's Thursday. We're on show number 241, if you can believe that. That has us
That's
about
a lot.
halfway to 300.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
So
mathematically almost exact.
So, yes, absolutely. And Michael Duckworth is joining us today from True Anomaly Brewing Company. Welcome back.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
I like Tabco.
Nice
that's the abbreviated version of your name. That's very,
acronyms.
that's very
Everything
cool.
acronym in our world.
I like it. I like it. So the first time we had you on, I just absolutely fell in love with your IPAs, and so you've got me hooked. Now on this show, I understand you're working on kind of speaking Ian's language because you brought some barrel aged.
We won you over. We need to go to the big guy next and see if we can't bring some nice barrel aged offerings his way.
Well, Ian, that is your wheelhouse.
I love
if you
barrel aged beers.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that. We got a lot of good things to go through today. We are brought to you by mycigarshirts.com. It's great shirts for cigar lovers on the web. They all start under $20, and they are quite cool, actually. Check them out, mycigarshirts.com, because
cigars.
Yep, and you know where to find them because it's.
I love those shirts because they have that really soft cotton.
Right.
fabric.
You hate when you get the when you get a shirt from someplace, you put it on, it's kind of scratchy.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. No, these are not like
or
that
if
at all.
if you get one with a big picture like what I have on
Right.
here and it feels all plasticky
Yeah.
underneath. This one doesn't do that either.
Yeah.
But some of them
do. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I can.
I had a great Willie Nelson concert T-shirt that was like that. Man, I put it on. I just felt like I was wearing a plastic bib on my belly.
Do you remember, like back in the old days, when you would go to a T-shirt shop, you'd pick out the design from the designs up on the wall, and then they would like iron it onto your shirt, and it would be that plastic.
I do remember that.
Yeah, I remember. I had a Star Wars shirt that was.
I'm old.
That was yeah, I am too, because that was from the original Star Wars. You know, back when the movies were good. So it was pretty
70s.
Yeah, for sure. So welcome to the show. We mentioned it's number 241. We are all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We'll be talking a little bit about each of those today, including a list that has been released of the best Irish whiskeys, according to the International Wine and Spirits Competition. So
I love that idea.
This isn't just, some like random mag. It's not the Rob Report's best Irish whiskeys where they just go pick the expensive ones and say they're the best. This is a real list from the people who at least should know what they're doing, the International Wine and Spirits Competition. So we'll talk about that, and we'll talk, of course, about True Anomaly beers, and we will talk cigars. We will do drinking news. Our drinking news teaser headline today, stolen, by the way, from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. You remember that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, the teaser headline today is 69, dude. Remember that? Whenever anything would be 69,
they had like
would
a little
high five.
lick that would always be
Had a little-
no,
yeah,
right.
exactly. What was the name of their band? The Wild Stallions with a Y. That's awesome. So anyway, so we'll get to that. We'll talk about some new cigars to watch for. There's a new study. I almost don't want to give this away. Let me just ask you, Ian. Did you participate in a study from Pitt about craft beer?
Not that I remember.
Well, I'm thinking you might have, because you have a tendency to skew things. The new study from Pitt has found that Americans are drinking more craft beers with higher alcohol content.
I do like that.
Yeah. I was like, okay, Ian must have voted several times.
I don't think I like beers because they have higher alcohol content. I find a lot of times that beers that I like have higher alcohol content, which is slightly different.
A little more full body generally.
Yeah, I like
right?
bigger. They generally have bigger flavor, too.
Right.
So much like overproof whiskey and things like that, it just has a bigger flavor, and I'm attracted to that.
Well, for me, it just depends on the application. If I'm out by the pool on a sunny day, I want something lighter and crisper. 4%, 5%. But yeah, I will admit I enjoy the bigger beers. Being an IPA guy, if it starts going north of 7.5, I start getting excited. You know?
All right, yeah.
So,
You're gonna really enjoy the ones that we brought today.
okay, good. I'm excited. Well, we really enjoyed the last ones that you brought, and I have to say, Michael, when after our last show together, which was what, a year or so ago?
Oh, 19. It was
2019.
Yeah,
okay,
that's
so it's
right.
been that
back
long.
when we were doing these things.
Since we had you on the show, between then and now, I've noticed your beers are popping up everywhere.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah.
You have really
Seen them in Specs
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and a bunch of other places.
Yeah, Specs. I've seen them in some of the grocery stores and stuff.
Yep. Total
And-
Wine, Central Market. we're
Including,
getting
what
out
did
there.
I see the other day? I passed by. I saw heat shields are for
Sissies.
sissies.
Yeah, what a
Great
great
beer
name!
name. It
What a
is,
great name!
Yeah.
So, did you guys team up with a distributing company, or are you doing this all on your own?
That's all still self-distribution.
That is, I mean, I don't want to give away your secrets, but you've shown up in places, there's so many, great craft breweries around the area, but that seems to be the tough nut to crack, is how to get into, the stores. Places like Specs, I think, are pretty welcoming. They're looking for
Certainly a little more local
the ability
focus, too.
to find a lot of choice for their customers, and local helps. But man, getting into Central Market and Total Wine is obviously a nationally based company, so getting into there, I don't know how you've done it, but congratulations, my hat's off to you.
Certainly appreciate it.
I guess lots of phone calls and
A lot of phone calls, a lot of footwork,
Yeah.
a lot of shaking
a lot
hands,
of phone,
and kissing babies.
and lots of beer tasting, which is a good thing.
I don't know why they keep bringing the babies to the brewery, but we'll kiss them.
Yeah. We'll pour you a drink and we'll kiss your baby. That's
right.
that's the motto of the brewery.
We're gonna get a shirt made.
Well, I like it. Seriously though, you guys have, and one of the things I love about your packaging is your cans. Immediately, that it's you guys because of the way that you've styled your packaging and stuff, and it's easy to kind of go, oh, I don't think I've tried this. What's that green one? I haven't tried that one. So it's a very cool thing.
Thanks for the feedback. Yeah.
So looking forward to trying more of that stuff today. We also have a list, if we have time to get to it, of the 22 best gifts to get a beer lover. My birthday will be coming up in a few months, so I thought this might be a good time to break out.
The smoking and toasting.
The smoking and toasting bottle opener. Sure,
Done
sure,
and done.
Sure, that works. I guess we probably ought to put some of those up for sale on the on the website, because people, I think people
cool.
would want them.
People, it's a cool thing.
I remember Bruce wanted to buy one, and we didn't have them for sale, so I wound up just mailing him one.
Just mail them one, yeah.
But that's not something we could do on a large scale. So before
that tends to start losing money pretty quick.
before you go to the show notes and start recording, we got to at least recoup the investment here. But,
We got to have money to buy beer a lot of times.
Yeah. But it
Hard game.
I do love these. I do love these openers though, because they're the one. I've gotten over my career in radio, I've gotten 1,000 of those little ones. Mm-hmm. And they all go into a drawer. You maybe open one beer with them, and then they go into a drawer, and eventually you clean out the drawer and throw them away because you've got too many. These, on the other hand, people love them. They keep them. They use them.
These are solid.
Yeah.
And the
really
nice
work.
thing about this too is the slimness of it. So if you're hanging around your house, you slip it in your back pocket, and it just sits there just fine.
And that's
All-day
what
bartenders.
And that's
ready.
what bartenders do. Yeah,
That's right.
That's
right.
They're always reaching for the back pocket for
Yeah.
this. So
I'd definitely give you $5-7 for this.
yeah.
Right,
Oh,
right now.
geez, that's pretty good.
You already gave it to me though. So.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you should have asked.
So maybe you can just leave some beer behind.
Sure,
when you
yeah.
go.
There you go.
We might drink it all.
We'll call it a day. Well, it's been quite a week for me, Ian. I assume it has been for you, but I imagine there's not that many weeks that go by that you don't have the opportunity to smoke something interesting.
I
Am
make
right?
that opportunity.
Yeah, I have a feeling.
It's something I make sure that happens
You're
at
that kind of a
least
guy.
a few times a week.
What'd you try this week?
I went by Casa this morning. I went in the humidor, and I thought, I've been trying some newer stuff recently. I decided to try something that's been around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up picking up a Tatuaje Black.
Oh, nice.
The Petite Lancero, to be exact. It's a 6x38 Nicaraguan Puro.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always a fan of Tatuaje. I don't think I've ever had a Tatuaje cigar that I didn't like. I mean, they're always really good.
Pete Johnson's got it going on.
Yes, and this one in particular was just, I haven't had a Lancero in a while either, so it's just kind of like I'm going to try some things that I haven't done in a little bit.
Nice.
The appearance on this medium brown, kind of an oily, leathery wrapper, silky to the touch, some veins in it, mostly firm overall. The pre-light sniff on this was earth, barnyard, leather, hints of mocha and coffee. and a little bit of kind of a gingerbread and a slight raisin, like right at the foot of it.
Nice.
A lot of sweetness in the nose. The pre-light draw on this, I used a clip. The draw was a little bit tight on it. That was the only thing I could complain about at this point. But the draw on it was dark chocolate, coffee, rich earth, brown sugar,
and
brownie
this is before
batter.
you lit it, right?
Yeah, leather and some overripe fruit kind of notes underlying there. The initial light, kind of a medium pepper blast, not a huge one, but kind of a medium pepper blast. And then earth, leather, and toast. It wasn't like a super complex initial light, but it wasn't very singular either. It had a little bit going on. The first third of this settled into a medium plus strength almost immediately. Spicy, sweet, earthy experience. Underlying seeds like poppy
caraway
seed,
seeds or poppy seed,
those kind of things. Just that seeds just in general have kind of that flavor. Leather, dark fruit interplay with pepper, earth, leather, wood. Apparently, there's a lot of leather.
A lot of leather, yeah.
And brownie batter. I kept getting this sweet kind of brownie batter kind of thing going on.
That's cool.
And I wanted to call it mocha, but it just wasn't. It was a little. It was a little
sweeter than that,
rounder and sweeter than that little baking spice kind of thing. Retrohale was peppery toast, solid ash, perfect burn. By the way, the burn on this thing was amazing.
So you didn't have the tightness once you lit it. It smoked just fine.
No, I still had some tightness. It smoked okay. It was a little tight. By the second third of this, I even wrote down here, draw lightens up a little bit after rolling a cigar between my fingers to try and alleviate some of the tightness, and it lightened up to about a medium draw, which was okay. It wasn't a real tight draw after that, so it smoked pretty nice. I did have to correct it a little bit like that. The pepper, toast, cedar, and leather balanced by brownie sweetness and a dark fruit kind of flavor in the background was really nice. The retrohale in the second third of this was peppery toast, cedar, and those seeds again were in there. Kind of, it's interesting. The seeds. I want to say it has a seedy. I almost put it has a seedy flavor, but that kind of gives you the wrong impression.
That doesn't necessarily sound too good. Yeah,
it's the wrong kind of seedy, but it's almost a nuttiness, but it's not quite. It's there's a difference.
Right. I got you.
The last third of strength ramps up to a full. This was definitely a full flavored cigar at the last third of this. Seeds, toast, brownies are augmented by a little saltiness and a little salty spice kind of going on in there. It was interesting that just kind of popped up. I was not expecting that. Earthy and leathery flavors move in and out of the foreground. Pepper is also more present. Solid ash, perfect burn. I will tell you, though, that right there between the second third and the third, I did drop the entire ash on me, which was pretty long.
Was it 2/3 of the cigar's ash?
No. So each ash lasted almost a third of the cigar, and that's
still
pretty long ash considering it was by a 38.
And also, this is a lancero, right?
Right.
So
it's a skinny.
I think it's harder for those ashes to hold together than something a little bit thicker. So
I did drop that on me. But other than that,
but you wore a gray shirt, so
perfect burn though. If you look at the pictures though, the burn down to the very bottom is just laser tight all the way down. It's really nice. The price to quality, this is an $8.55 cigar, so not a cheap cigar and not a real big cigar, but it did smoke right at an hour.
So that's not too bad at that price.
Yeah, for a 6x38, it's pretty nice. So it's a slow smoking cigar. It didn't want you to smoke it fast. If you tried to smoke it a little too hot, it would get just a touch of harshness to it.
Right.
So you slow down a little bit, and then I wanted you to take it easy on it. This is classic Tatuaje construction and complexity shining through on this. I gave it a solid 5 at $8 to $9 for a cigar, and nice. An absolutely fantastic cigar. Try it if you want something bigger and complex, but if you're a newbie and you think to yourself, I want to try something full, this one might be a little much on the peppery side.
Okay, yeah, and one of the things, Lanceros will often have the flavors will be really concentrated.
Right.
So if it's a heavier bodied cigar, if it's a medium to full or a full, it's going to pack a little bit of a punch, because everything's so so close together in there. And
the more wrapper to filler ratio is the thing on that.
But sounds like it was a good cigar. Tatuaje very seldom disappoints.
Yeah, and it's one of those companies that I could pretty much grab anything they make and enjoy it.
Well, speaking of very seldom disappoints, I went in a direction this week that I haven't done in a while, at least not to talk about on the show.
Did you smoke an AJ Fernandez?
I did. I smoked an AJ Fernandez cigar. But it's been like months since I talked about an AJ cigar on here.
You're such a fanboy.
I really am. I smoked the AJ Fernandez San Lotano Oval Robusto.
Oh, yeah.
And this is not one of the... I have some AJs that are kind of in my regular rotation that I buy a lot. This is not one that I have smoked a lot of. I've smoked one before, but it's been a while. So it was a Robusto, beautiful light brown wrapper, a slight box press, but it's not pressed square. The reason they call it oval is because the cigar actually has a kind of an oval shape. So when you look at it, it looks sort of box pressed, but it's not round.
It's more of a soft box press kind of.
Yeah, and so it really does have that sort of oval shape. AJ says that the San Lotano name was taken from his family's now defunct cigar business in Cuba. And so when AJ got started basically blending cigars for all these other companies. Yeah. And he still does that, by the way, although he does it for bigger companies now because he's something of a hotshot. But the first line that he released on his own was the San Lotano line. So he resurrected the family name and put these together. The San Lotano line, which I have those on a fairly regular basis, came first, and then the oval was an addition to this. And there's a number of different sizes in the oval. Again, I had the Robusto pre-light on it, was rich earth, leather, and a little bit of touch of dried fruit, which I'm always a little surprised if I get that on the pre-light. Usually that's something more likely to show up once you've got the cigar lit and going. The cigar features a Habano 2000 wrapper with a Nicaraguan binder and Honduran and Nicaraguan filler tobaccos. As I have mentioned, I am something of an AJ fanboy. I've tried just about everything he makes. So I can tell you that the San Lotano Oval has definitely got a different flavor profile than some of the other things that he has created. Not only from the rest of the San Lotano line, but also from AJ's other stuff. Deep earth notes once the pepper blast settled down. I did get a little, intense pepper on the first light. But then as it settled down, earth, coffee, some chocolate, and then still pepper, but not as peppery as some of the other AJs I've smoked. I had a New World the other day, and that baby is peppery. Oh, yeah. It's nice and full. As with most of his cigars, I found it to be very nicely complex. Dried fruit notes, I decided it was probably like dried cherry was probably what I was identifying there. That emerged as I got to the second third of the cigar. Nice balance between medium and full, kind of my sweet spot for a cigar. And lots of billowy smoke for a little Robusto. This thing put out a nice volume of smoke. Second third, buttery toast with more dried fruit and coffee. The final third, oaky flavors kind of joined the party. The chocolate returned and the dried fruit continued all the way through to the end of the cigar. It stayed complex with changing flavors all the way through. The burn on this wasn't razor straight, but every time it would go a little crooked, it kind of corrected itself.
Kind of self-corrected.
I didn't have to do any touch up to it, so that was nice. Didn't need tending at all. Great construction overall, with a nice ash and big smoke volumes all the way to the end. The Oval Robusto is a $7 to $8 cigar for a Robusto. It's a little more expensive than some of the other things in AJ's line, which I can sometimes find a little cheaper, or at that price maybe you get a bigger cigar. I got to tell you though, I would have been thrilled at $10.
Wow.
Thrilled. And I was tempted to give it a 7. But I'm going to take off a point just because I'm such a fanboy that I have a tendency to get, maybe a little excited. So I tend to love everything AJ. So price to quality, I'm going to give it a solid 6.
That's awesome.
If it'd been a couple bucks more, it'd have been totally worth it. So I will wave the AJ flag and continue to be a fan. And what's interesting, Ian, you and I met AJ, although he does not speak English. So there was another guy from his company there that it was translating. Yeah. We met him at Stogie's when he was doing I think it was the New World Broadleaf.
Release,
it was New World Broadleaf that he was debuting, and I met him then. And to be honest, I'd smoked some of his cigars at that time, but the fanboy thing didn't develop until later, and that's
that was
probably
that
good
was
because I would have
about it.
embarrassed myself.
That was
know?
about a year or year and a half before he started really being everywhere in the
Right,
industry.
right.
Like
it was
he is
before
now.
he started doing
Right.
stuff for Monte Cristo and
everybody.
Romeo and Julieta and all the other ones that H. Upman and all the other ones that he does. So, I will say he's as consistent as anybody out there, if not more so. So. Big ups to AJ. All right, we got a lot to do today. We have lots of beers to taste. Michael Duckworth is here from True Anomaly, and he's brought some things, although I don't think it's where we're going to start, but he has brought some things that are barrel-aged in several different kinds of barrels. So I'm looking forward to looking forward to trying this.
Those are some lovely descriptions, by the way, from both you guys. I hope we
cigars?
get the same level of intensity throughout the rest of the show. This is amazing.
we usually kind of like spend all of that in the first segment,
Okay.
and then in number 2 we're like, beer good. But we'll do our best. All right, it's Smoking and Toasting. It's show number 241. And real quick, by the way, before we take a break, just super big thanks to our guest last week, Greg Duxakis from Plantation Rum.
Man, he's always so fun.
And our mixologist and Smoking and Toasting cocktail expert, Chris Morris, who will be back in about a month to do something we've talked about for more than 2 years, and we're finally going to actually do, which is the great Smoking and Toasting Martini Challenge, where we have someone who is a specialist in the gin martini and someone who's a specialist in the vodka martini to make us the very best representation of each of those, although I have a feeling I already know which ones you and I are going to like the best because that's just how things roll. But anyway, we're looking forward to that. That'll be a fun show. And any show where we're doing martinis has a tendency to get a little wacky by the end. So we'll be looking forward to that. Drinking news, some beer sampling, and I didn't mention this, but I brought along a bottle of Brugal, 1888 Doblemente. It's not Añejo, it's Anejado Dominican rum, which I think is just another fancy way of saying añejo.
Okay,
but
I was
it's
gonna say, I don't know what that means.
Añejado
Except for
is what
age
it
of some
says.
sort.
But it is a Brugal 1888 Dominican rum from the DR, and so we'll be tasting that on the program as well. And once again, Ian, I've gone to the trouble of opening up the wax.
Making
top
sure I don't
on
have
this
to.
thing, so that you won't have
You
to.
probably
struggle.
cleared the neck of it too.
I did, so it makes it easier to pour,
Yeah.
which I think, that way you're less likely to spill anything, and this is what you do for friends, right?
Okay, I feel the love.
All right, we'll get to that coming up. It's Smoking and Toasting, show number 241. We'll be right back with Michael Duckworth.
I totally called you by the name.
Welcome back into Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. It's show number 241, and we are brought to you by mycigarshirts.com. New shirts have started to show up for the summer season, including the one that says vaccinated, caffeinated, and ready to smoke. I definitely want one of those. So we are excited to be in the studio this week with Michael Duckworth from True Anomaly Brewing. We're going to be trying some of his wares here in just a moment, and something different because we were very IPA oriented the last time we were here, and now we're talking about some good barrel aged stuff. So we'll get to that in just a moment. A new study has found that even though beer drinking in general has gone down somewhat, craft beer drinking has gone up, and even more specifically, craft beers with higher alcohol content are, it's according to a new study from the University of Pittsburgh. By the way, why didn't they do studies like this when I was in college?
Right.
That would have been so interesting, right? Instead, we did like really boring stuff about, dirt mites and stuff like that. It was not fun. At Cole County Brewing in Eisenberg, owner Mike Kuchman said people like craft beer not necessarily for the high alcohol contents. This sounds like what you were saying, but for its quality. And they like a higher quality beer with handcrafted local ingredients. He talks about the fact that his beers are farm to table, so people are more interested in that as opposed to mass-produced kind of stuff. How difficult is it to source your ingredients, Michael, from local or regional places. Can you get things, or do you have to go, we need the crazy new hops that's only being grown in the Pacific Northwest or whatever?
Sure, yeah. So, I mean, some of it is varietal dependent, especially when you look at hops. Just like wine or any kind of, varietal there, you're going to get the hop that's from the area, and it's going to attribute a lot more of the qualities from that terroir or region, right? So those you do get a little bit more limited on. The American side of the hops, again, the region that we're in here in the southeast isn't fruitful for a lot of hop characteristics that we're looking for. Is something a little more bright, zesty, those kinds of things. There are a number of hops that do well, Cascade, Columbus, those kinds of things, but those are pretty widely available. So it's nice to get local when we can get local,
Right.
and I would say the number of suppliers in general are definitely going up. So we're able to source a little bit more locally on more things. Grain, particularly, is one that is a little bit more universal. We get, from a main grain supplier, but we are also able to, supplement that with some local suppliers as well.
Is hops, with the explosion of craft beer across the past, 5 to 10 years, and with the much more heavily hopped varieties that have been produced, are hops getting hard to find, or have the farmers kind of kept up with the demand?
No, absolutely. They're more difficult to find, and again, just like a vineyard, it takes years and years of cultivation to actually get the production from that. So it's a 5-6 year process, turnaround lead to actually take a rhizome or an actual bud of the plant and then grow that into a vine that's actually producing. So it's long lead, and because of that and the popularity of the hops, you can't meet the demand overnight.
Right.
So those hops that are really gaining popularity, end up getting supplemented with other hops or blends or different things that come in to help support that. But absolutely, it's a tough market out there, for sure. And any kind of new entrant. We're only a few years old now, but in that time frame, we've been able to, elbow our way up the food chain a little bit. But there's just more and more entrants coming in that are hungry for the same kind of things.
I have a question, because I've done this in my kitchen where sometimes I just look in my fridge and go, okay, this is what's available, and I've made some really great meals out of that. And I've made some duds too. Do you end up having some of that process go through? Like, I can't get what I really, really want, but this is what I can get.
Sure. I think we do it probably a little opposite. We see what we can get in the market when it's available, and kind of similar to your price value position, right? And saying, all right, here's some hops like Calatar Blanc or Nelson Sauvin or something that's a little more rare. It has a great expression in some of the beers we've done. It's on the market, spot market. Let's pick it up now. I don't know exactly where it's going to go, but I definitely feel like
it out.
we can work this into a beer in the next 6 months.
If you
or so.
buy, say, for instance, something like that, do you have a general idea what kind of beers you might make with that, or is that just okay, we're going to put that in a vault for a minute and then think about it?
For the most part, we have a good idea where that might go. Again, we're really focused on a lot of Belgium, French Saison style beers that lend themselves to a certain.
I love that. The last time I was at your place, I tried. You had a couple Belgian styles there that were fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. We generally have a pretty wide array of Belgian, French Saison kind of characteristic beers, Belgians especially.
Belgian with some funk to it, and I really like that.
Very cool. I didn't bring you any funk today.
That's all right.
So you're going to have to come back and check us
okay.
out. But so the market's ever evolving. We're getting more interesting hops as well, and we're getting different adjuncts. People are bringing to the table to, play around with, and some of our fruited beers or different things that, go off the beaten path.
Do you still do very small batches when you get something brand new, and you do have like a very like small to me is like 5 gallons or 10 gallons, but I don't know what small to you is. But do you do small batches to just try stuff and go, okay, we can do something bigger with this?
Right, yeah. We still have a pilot system. We run a lot of fun things off of that, and really kind of focus as a taproom exclusive release.
Right.
And then, if it gains popularity there, then we'll kind of turn that. And that's actually what we did largely for our whole first year was 100% through the tap room, doing a lot of R&D, a lot of tweaking of recipes.
I do love the tap room exclusive thing. On one hand, it can be a little annoying the fact that you find a beer that you really love and the only place you can get it is there, and then it's only there for like a limited time.
Right.
But that's kind of a beauty to it as well.
Well, sure,
like,
because when I
you
go
get to
to
experience it,
when I
and
go
then
to the
try something
tap
else.
room, the first thing I order is not going to be something that I've already been able to buy at the store. I'm going to look for, something that I haven't tried, something something on that chalkboard.
I'm always the what's new and
whiteboard.
interesting. I want to try those. Yeah.
It's nice to have a draw, if we get something that you're not going to find elsewhere. Why else are you coming to the tap room? So let's hang out there.
One more hop question. That grain wheat has got a pretty decent shelf life. It can be stored for a while. What about hops? How long are hops good after they've been harvested? You've brought them into your place. Do hops keep at all, or do they have an expiration date?
So they do. I mean, we keep them in the freezer, deep freeze, so
Okay.
kind of separate from our regular refrigerated area, unless we know that they're going to be readily used in the next 2 to 4 weeks,
Right.
kind of just in time inventory stuff.
And
There's
the-
things that we don't know. We can keep around 3-6 months plus, especially if they're unopened, if they're freeze dried, vacuumed, and come in that way and have been in that kind of storage for a prolonged period, then they're going to hold a little longer. And quite frankly, going on the other end, there's sometimes we experiment with actually using some aged hops. So
Interesting.
using that in kind of the wild, funky beers that lend itself a little bit of a different characteristic.
I grew up in a farming community, a small town a little south of San Antonio. And as a kid, before I was old enough to get a job, sacking groceries or whatever, I worked in the fields doing irrigation, irrigating crops, moving the pipe and stuff to the next over. But I would have become really interested in agriculture if they'd been growing like hops and stuff. We were irrigating peanuts, and I like peanuts.
A lot less exciting.
I like peanuts as well as the next guy, but it doesn't have the same romance to it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, no.
If we'd just been doing hops and maybe barley, that'd have been kind of interesting.
Have you seen hops grow in the field? They're
Yes,
amazing. I mean,
it's
they climb
beautiful.
10,
Yeah.
12, 15 feet up.
It's beautiful. It actually reminds me a little bit of the cannabis with the buds.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Same
got,
basic,
it's got the same kind
cannabinoid,
of it got the same kind of vibe to it. Well, you have brought out a tart one for us here. Is that where we're starting?
Yeah, I think we're going to start there. And this is the lightest one I brought. It's 10%.
Oh.
See, I love this guy already.
You're speaking Ian's language. You've already won him over.
So this one's named Starport Jamboree. I always have to give you guys a little background. We're the NASA nerds,
You're all NASA
right?
guys,
So
yeah,
we
yeah.
got Starport is actually a little double entendre as far as the name goes here for us, and the use of it in the beer. So it's a port, so that's the port part, right? Starport. Starport is actually the facility at Johnson Space Center.
So there is a thing actually called Starport.
Yeah,
it's
there
not
is.
just a sci-fi thing.
No, yeah,
Okay.
there's a starport at Johnson Space Center. That's where they do a lot of their outreach. That's where they do a lot of their merchandising and content creation for. There we go.
Oh, that sounded really
for
good.
promotion. So this is a Golden Strong base beer that was aged for about 18 months in these port barrels. This is part of our occasion beer series. So I mean, with the strong ABV there and the amount of time it takes to actually bring to market, we kind of promote this as an occasion. This is a beer you're going to buy. You're going to hold on to it. Maybe a special occasion comes up. Maybe it's just been a long day.
And so
These
these
also age well.
Those will age very well. So everything that we're trying today, for the most part, is going to have a pretty long shelf life. Will actually continue to improve a little bit, at first taste-wise, and for some time to come.
So this one was aged in port barrels, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and we
so-
have a sister beer to this. This is the cognac that we're going to try next.
All right. We'll
So
pass these
let's
around.
pass these around.
Yes.
Slide those around the table. Look at that.
There we go.
It smells so
Ian,
good.
I saw your
It
reaction
smells-
actually just after you popped the top on the bottle.
It's
and you got a whiff
interesting
of it.
because I get this huge fruity flavor and then a little bit of honey, kind of almost.
Well, I will say on
And
the
then that
nose,
tart.
on the nose, it almost makes me think of a wild ale. It's got
Yeah.
a little of that.
So just a touch of a kind of funk background,
Yes,
little kind of farmhousey leather. I think that's mainly from the oak there, just the port. I mean, in those oak barrels,
There's
right?
a really, really beautiful dryness to
there
this.
sure
without,
is.
Without
Almost like a very dry champagne.
right,
you
but
know?
without being distracting either.
Yeah. So both of these beers are actually done as a Belgian Brut. So a Belgian Brut is done as more of a traditional kind of the closest we could get to a champagne of Bruts. That's why it's such a high ABV.
Right.
French oak, I believe, for the port barrels themselves after or from their previous port entry. I don't know the port manufacturer. I will tell you that we got a good amount of port remaining in the casks when they were shipped in. So we probably got 2 liters of this stuff.
Nice.
That's very robust.
So how much of this will you make for one of the occasion series beers?
Yeah, so here we have about 60 cases, and we have the same for its sister beer, the cognac number there. So very small batch, if you will.
Did you release those 2 at the same time?
We're releasing them in the next couple weeks.
Okay,
so
so
you
this
guys
is
are getting a
something-
little sneak sneak peek.
So this, but
Nice.
this is something we will be able to find at Specs and Total Wine and places like that.
Yeah, so I think we'll have a limited release to Specs for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Total Wine, not 100%, maybe Central Market as well. T&Q, some of the smaller retail blended
Mm-hmm.
kind
I
of
just want to point out on the palate the tartness in this. I mean, it just tastes like the peel of a grape. Like it's so
Right, that right next to the skin.
that it's the skin of that
fleshy.
Yeah, it's really really fleshy. It's not the pulpy part. It's that it's really nice.
I have been less enthusiastic lately about sours because some of the fruited sours that I've got, I'm going to say this. I know some people are going to take issue with this. It almost feels like they're trying too hard to be sour.
Okay.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
getting at? This though, the tartness to it just feels so natural and easy, and it doesn't bowl you over with sourness. It just I don't feel like I need to go take an antacid after I drink this.
I think that sour beers are going through their own renaissance, kind of like IPAs did. Where
I think so, yeah.
It takes people to go, hey, I do like this style, and then it grows in popularity, and then you have to have people that push the boundaries of it. And that happened very severely with IPAs, where people were pushing the boundaries so hard you had a beer that would basically, you can barely drink because it just tastes like you're chewing pine cones.
Yeah,
But
Right. I
You
mean, it's
almost
gone all
expect to
the-
hear the pine cone rattling
I would
around in the can.
I'd probably agree with that. Sours in general are really kind of going in every direction
Right.
because people are exploring
They're being
a lot of the
extreme
directions.
with it.
Right. So
Right,
IPA in general, you're right. You had 100 IBU, whatever, and then you had brute IPAs actually as another
Right,
one that
right.
were
And
real
there's-
low ABV but still real hot forward.
But there's also different styles of sours too,
Right.
and that makes a big difference because, like for instance, like the Berliner Weiss is a base style of
Right,
beer
and
that
see,
has some tartness.
that's
to
a
it.
sour that I love.
And you
if
can go
you
in
call
that
it a
direction,
sour.
or you
Yeah.
can go more like the lambics a lot of times, or what's the other one I'm thinking of is
we have Framboise, Lambic. They're
Right.
both technically Lambic kind of base
Yeah.
styles.
But
The Creek is the kind of more cherry version. So we have a version of a Creek and a Framboise coming out in the late August, September timeframe.
I will say this, though. I really applaud the experimentation. That was the cool thing about when IPAs sort of blew up. They weren't all good, but by the breweries trying all these different sort of expressions of the IPA and the pale ale style, we wound up, I think, getting to some different things within that family that we wouldn't have gotten to if it hadn't been for all this experimentation. I mean, if you are a person who kind of generally likes IPAs, but you don't like the bitter, there are so many IPAs now that are hazy or juicy enough that it really kind of quells that bitter at the end of it.
I want to give a
And
shout out
you
though.
could find them.
Like when it comes to the IPA stuff, I mean, Arrogant Bastard figured it out early. They went extreme and they made
Yes.
an incredibly
yeah.
good
Right.
beer.
And
like
Stone-
right off the bat. And Stone, yeah.
if you think about it, I mean, their IPAs are big and they are a little bitter.
How many
but
IPAs
they're-
do
but
you
they're
guys have?
balanced.
And that's what they say, right? Stone, Arrogant
Yeah.
Bastard said, hey,
Yeah.
you read the back of the bottle. I remember this when
Yeah.
I was in
You're
college.
not
or whatever.
worthy.
Yeah, you're not. Get out of here.
and Arrogant
You're probably
Bastard-
going to think this is awful.
So
and that's
Arrogant
okay.
Bastard actually is Stone, right? That's a
That's
Stone.
correct,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
that's
yes.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those guys, they got it figured out.
So, how many IPAs do you guys currently have on your tap wall?
We have 3 pretty consistent year-round IPAs at
So
this
core
point. Yeah, we have
IPAs,
a West
and
Coast, an American IPA, a little juicier to its West Coast cousin there, and then we have a hazy, New England
Right.
style IPA.
I love that hazy one. That's
That's
just
called Go Flight.
Go Flight. Yeah,
people,
it's
and
just-
again, good JC connection there. And,
Yeah, I love it.
We've
I love it. And it makes sense. I mean, look, we're based in Houston. We're very proud of the craft brewery scene in Houston. But you guys have almost embraced Houston-ness in the largest way with your connection to NASA and the whole space.
Yeah,
thing.
it's been
I love
really
it.
cool, honestly,
I
and we've
love
had
it.
a lot of fun. We've, not to, float our own boat a little, but we've because of that had a really cool draw with flight directors, astronauts, different
Yeah,
people come
sure.
in that, and quite honestly, if we didn't know who they were, most people probably wouldn't.
Right. But you're
Yeah.
space geeks, you
yeah,
know.
Yeah. I'm sure these astronauts go walk into 100 different restaurants nobody ever knows,
Yeah.
for the most part. But when they walk into our place, they're
We're like,
famous.
"Woo-hoo."
All
Right,
right.
right,
And then all of a
yeah.
sudden,
Yeah.
it's kind of a big deal for us. That's really fun.
I love this beer for how interesting and complex
it really
the flavor
isn't it?
on
This is one. We talk about this a lot, and I love that you called it an occasion beer because this these are the beers that I kind of save for when somebody comes over. You want to share this beer with somebody. You want to talk about it, talk about the flavors that you're getting. It's not just necessarily what you're going to open up on a Saturday afternoon and just drink the whole thing yourself. It's more about the conversation, the exploration of what it is, and the story behind it. Starport Jamboree.
This is also pretty highly carbonated.
Yeah.
It's got
but not too much.
And it's funny because, in general, since I generally like more maltier beers, lower carbonation is what I generally go for. But there are certain sours that the high carbonation really makes it dance on your tongue. It's interesting. Is that something you very consciously put a very exact amount for the beer?
Too much, yeah. For sure. We have
like that's a level of geekdom that most people would never consider.
It would surprise you how many carbonation conversations we have on it. So it's a daily, if not weekly, discussion.
Well, I can tell you that in my experience, nothing ruins a promising IPA like too much carbonation. It focuses your palate, your tongue, on the bubbles and not on the flavors that are in there. And I've had several of those in the last several months that I like the taste, but the carbonation keeps me from being able to. If they would just pull it back just
down
a
little
touch, I would like it better. And then there's other beers that you like the higher carbonation. This to me is balanced perfectly. It dances on the tongue. It enhances that little funky flavor a little bit, and you get that port on the finish that is just really wonderful.
And then the other thing, for these in particular, and for everything that we're having today, I think, maybe with the exception of the stout, these were bottle conditioned. Okay. So when you bottle condition, you generally get a little bit of a kind of finer carbonation from
and
that.
Smaller bubbles, right?
Smaller bubbles, right. So it does tend to kind of dance off the tongue a little bit differently. You are able to absorb that. Seems like a little bit more of a smooth, refined, not like nitrogen level, right? Where, that's like silky.
But it's a little more of a buzz on the tongue versus
like a pop.
Versus,
In a very, very good way.
Yeah.
Well, what will this retail for?
That's to be about 16.
Not bad.
Nice.
Not bad.
Right.
All right. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and do a little more tasting. In fact, I know you brought this as almost more of a palate cleanser.
I did.
But in the next segment, we'll be
it.
talking about this Mexican-style lager scout. This is also just about to come out. Is that right?
It actually just came out this past week.
Oh, exciting. All right.
Nice.
So we'll talk about that coming up. Plus, we got rum to taste and more barrel-aged True Anomaly beers. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smokin' and Toastin', show number 241. We're all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We will talk about the best Irish whiskeys based on the news that has been released from the International Wine and Spirits Competition. We'll get to that. We'll get to drinking news, and we'll get to maybe even some gifts for a beer lover. But right now... Oh, see, that was so well done.
Nice.
So well done.
I even got a little bit.
A little bit on the guitar, on the ukulele. Yeah, that's all right. So, Michael, you mentioned that this just came out. This is Scout, a Mexican-style lager, and I've already taken a little taste of this, and I have to tell you, I'm very impressed. I really love this style of beer, but I find that so many of the ones I try, I'm just not crazy about.
I'm not a fan of Mexican style lagers in general.
Yeah,
I think they're generally overly bitter with not enough flavor to back up the bitterness, and I don't put salt or lime in
your beers. Yes,
in my beers because I figure that's like trying to fix something that's broken.
Well, I will tell you
to me now.
It's not how the chef serves.
I haven't tried this. I see you're doing research already.
I tried this actually
but
before
I feel
the
like
segment
this is
began.
a hard style to make a really good beer, and lagers in general are a little harder to make a really nice flavored beer because they're just not as big.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And we're not traditionally a lager house. This is something we moved into more consistently here in 2020, and now we are working at having a rotating lager, seasonal. So here for the summer in Texas,
will this be a seasonal, or
it will be?
Okay.
This will be a seasonal. So we'll have, like I said, just came out here this past week. We'll have it for the next about 2 months or so. and then we're going to move into a little more full-bodied. I believe it's Redstone or Titan. I can't remember. So this one is just this is about as light as we'll
It is very light.
make
yeah.
something. It's about 4.5%, very crisp, very easy drinking. It is a summertime kind of replacement beverage.
So I'm going to say a couple things about this. First off, it is light and crisp, but it's light and crisp like a green apple kind of crisp to it. It also is very malty compared to any Mexican lager I've ever tried. So that immediately puts me onto this as I like this. This tastes
look at
really
that.
good.
Don't BS me now.
No,
Ian.
no, for real.
No.
Yeah, Ian likes everything. All you have to do is listen to the show. We get accused of that occasionally, of saying we like everything. The reality is, most of the stuff we bring onto the show is stuff we're thinking we're going to like. But there have been some things. There's been some things you haven't liked, some things I haven't liked. But what I will say about this is I really love Mexican lager as a style. I like it. But I would say about half of the ones I taste, I don't go back to. And I love Tex-Mex food, which we can get great Tex-Mex here in Houston, Texas, is really probably my very favorite kind of thing to eat. I could eat it every day if I was so inclined. And these kind of beers are great with Tex-Mex food, but what I don't like is the finish on about half of the ones that I try. Thinking about some of the macros, Corona. I'm not a big fan of the finish on Corona. Dos Equis is the same way. I will drink a Tecate because the finish is lighter on it.
I have a question for you.
This finish, though, is malty. I just wanted to finish saying that. And that makes it
It's round.
so
it's a rounder
much more
finish,
delicious.
but still
It's a very,
crisp.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
what we kind of aimed for here. Very
Yeah.
round, easy drinking, obviously.
Yeah, I
patio
like it.
beer.
Like it very much.
So this uses about 10% corn in the grist. So very light. That's what helps kind of bring that lightness of body to it, but it's not enough to really. And this is what I actually don't like, because I'm actually pretty similar with you, Cruze, that I'm actually not a huge fan of a lot of Mexican-style light lagers, mainly because I think it has a little bit more of a kind of vegetal character to it.
Yes.
And that comes from kind of the corn or rice, whatever else you might be putting in there, that detracts for me. So we were very, sensitive about that character.
I love it.
And tried to get something that we would all enjoy kind of around the table and be able to have, a multitude of. That's kind of the concept, right?
You had a question.
Yes, sir.
Oh no, I was going to point out when you were talking about the Mexican style lagers. Do you, when you drink tequila, do you lick salt and then put lime in your
Absolutely
mouth?
not. No.
Why would you do that with beer?
Well,
Like, that's just a question out there. I'm just putting it out there.
I'm not.
Well, let me add, with mezcal, do you put a little ice?
Ice, I think, is
Just dumb it down a little.
Well,
cut
mezcal
that out.
though,
but it's
is
not-
smoky, and
It
the
is.
ice can help make that a little easier to drink. I
will
think.
damp
Sure,
down
yeah.
the smoke a little bit because smoke is a warmer flavor,
Right.
and ice will mask a little bit of that cold, mask that a little bit. But
This is really
but
good.
but I'm always
really like
amazed
this.
by people who they buy a beer and then they dump a bunch of salt and lime into it. It's just, to me, that's, why don't you just have a margarita?
Right. Well,
mean-
I will say I don't
we
mind.
have a Goza. I know you like those sours. That Berliner
I do
Weiss.
like Gozas.
We do add
Gozas,
sea
yeah.
salt and coriander to that, but that's how the chef made it. So
Okay.
then,
Well,
then
see,
it's good.
but you
that's
don't add
different.
salt when you
Right.
drink
That's
it.
different.
No.
Like, how
I
would
was
you
doing-
feel? How would you feel if you handed me a steak and before I even tried it, I just
I'd be upset.
dumped some A1 or
No,
HB
I
on it?
don't
You know,
No. That's
like,
the
we're gonna
last.
start it with some ketchup.
That's the last steak I would make you.
Okay, so but that's what people do with Mexican lagers all the time, and I think the reason people love this Dos Equis, which I think is not good. Like, I'm not a fan of Dos Equis at all.
Right.
As far as the way their beer tastes, it's just not. I don't have anything personally against them. I just don't like their beer. But before they even try the beer, they're dumping salt and lime.
Well,
It's
I will say
like-
this: if I'm somewhere and and what they have to drink is Corona, like you're at somebody's house and that's the beer they've got, right? I will put the lime in it for two reasons. One is because I think the lime helps to curb a little bit of that flavor in Corona that I'm not crazy about. And the second is because I know how to do that thing where you drop the lime in, you hold the bottle with your thumb, you turn it upside down, and the lime
goes
floats up to the bottom, which is my way of telling people, yes, I went to college. You know, so
Declarative statement.
yeah, exactly. But I find the lime like helps a little bit there, so I will I won't ever choose Corona, but if I'm someplace and that's what they've got, I
Really
will
helps
float
choke it
a
down.
lime.
That's
It
good.
helps.
My best defense is pull it directly out of the ice, drink it fast.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That works.
Yeah, I love these places that have it colder than cold, right? 30 degrees, you can't taste it. It's great.
Yeah. I'll take it. I'll take it.
So
Yeah.
anyway, we brought this one out as a short segment, so we'll get this wrapped up for you. But we brought this one in really to be kind of a palate cleanser.
Well,
we brought
yeah.
all these big guys for you.
Oh,
so
this
here's
is
some
perfect,
little
yeah.
4.5%
This
real
is
light
perfect,
boy.
and I totally dig it. All right, I'm going to do some more cleansing of my palate, and we will take a break. We'll be right back. Talk about Irish whiskeys in the next segment, and we'll of course talk about. The next one's cognac barrel, right?
It is.
I'm so
Oh,
excited,
nice.
so excited. It's smoking and toasting.
Man, I may have to
Welcome back.
In the beginning.
It is Smoking and Toasting. We are the show that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are going to enjoy a little bit of two of those three in this segment. A little craft beer from our friends at True Anomaly Brewing, and some spirits from 1888. So, are you ready to open? All right. Let me share with you this. Now, Ian, you're a fan of Irish whiskey, right?
I do like Irish
Yeah.
whiskey.
I mean, we talk about it all the time. One of the kind of go-tos at my house is Slane.
Yeah, Slane's
because
good.
it's so inexpensive and it totally punches above its weight class flavor-wise, and it's one that just everybody seems to like, and so that's one that I'm usually got a bottle of at home. But a total of 6 Irish whiskeys won gold outstanding medals, and 12 whiskeys won gold medals in the 2021 International Wines and Spirits Competition judging. And so I wanted to share some names with you, just in case you want to try some of these.
All right.
Irish Distillers, a division of French beverage conglomerate Pernod Ricard, took gold outstanding medals for Jameson Black Barrel. Have you ever had Jameson Black Barrel? I have not.
Yes.
You've had Black Barrel.
Yes, it's very good.
And do you agree with a gold outstanding medal for
Yes,
that?
it's very good.
It's very good. Okay.
So that's one of those you'll see. Jameson's been stepping up their game the last few years. They've got their Cask Mates series, which has an IPA cask and a stout cask, and both of those are quite good. Jameson's just the standard Jameson's. Is a good whiskey.
Is a good whiskey.
And a lot of people put their nose up at it because it's so ubiquitous in the industry that they get that kind of Jameson's whatever. But the truth is, if you're taking shots and you're drinking it like a shot, all whiskey tastes terrible.
Right. So slow
stop
down
and sip it.
Yes, that's exactly right. It's exactly right. Slow down and sip it and enjoy what's there. I enjoy Tullamore Dew. You know,
There's
it's
nothing wrong with
just the
Tullamore Dew.
basic Tullamore Dew is.
But
is
yeah,
quite good.
the black barrel is actually a step up. It's a little more expensive. I think the standard Jameson's is right at $26 a bottle,
something like that. Yeah.
The black barrel, I believe, is going to come in about $10 more than that, or maybe $15 more than that. And
So
it's
that's
just
still
a big step up, and it's really good.
It's a great price. They also were awarded for their Middleton Very Rare Barry Crockett Legacy.
Haven't tried that. I've had Middleton, but I've never tried that.
I haven't tried that either, so that's something to look forward to. Speaking of Tullamore Dew, the Tullamore Dew Special Reserve 12-year-old was given a gold outstanding medal.
Haven't tried that one.
I have a Tullamore Dew single cask that we've had on the show. It's a single malt, actually, that we've had here on the show that I've still got a little bit of left at home, and I've had the regular, but I have not had the Special
I have
Reserve.
a Tullamore
12
Dew
year.
that came in the little clay thing,
Yeah,
the clay vessel.
yeah,
I have no idea how much is in it.
Well, we're just
Damn
gonna have
clay
to.
vessel.
We're just gonna have to find out.
They need to put a little window on it so I can see,
Sightline.
The Pierce Lyons Distillery Marriage of Malt Whiskey was given a gold outstanding medal,
Don't know anything about that one.
and so was Lambay Irish Whiskey. their malt whiskey. St. Patrick's Distillery, peated single malt Irish whiskey. Have you ever had a peated Irish?
Not a peated Irish.
I don't
no.
think I have either. There was also a total of 12 Irish whiskeys that won gold medals. Jameson Cooper's Cruze, Middleton Very Rare 2021, Method and Madness Single Malt, Jameson Cask Mates that you mentioned, the IPA edition, Method and Madness Single Pot Still Irish Whiskey, and a number of others. Waterford Distillery Irish Single Malt, Craft Irish Whiskey Company, The Devil's Keep Irish Whiskey, and Tullamore Dew's Single Malt that I mentioned won a gold medal as well. So there's some Irish whiskeys to look for. I will tell you, at Specs, the Irish whiskey aisle has been expanding.
It's been growing. Yeah.
They've been stocking more and more new and different Irish whiskeys that I have not seen before.
Yeah,
there,
good value propositions.
Yeah.
I
very
think
much so.
over the last, especially in the last 10 years, some styles of spirits that haven't been on people's radar are growing. Like gin, for instance, is huge and growing.
That gin that we had last week on this show that Doc's brought in, that kind of replaced
Citadel.
the juniper-y vibe with this very floral, citrusy kind. Oh man, it was good.
Yeah, the Citadel's
really good.
Citadel's very good. That's kind of one of our go-to, and his was a special edition of the Citadel.
It was.
But
it was really just
that's
terrific.
one of the go-tos at my house. I like some of the barrel-rested gins that have come out, but I think that much like that, I think Irish whiskey. I think people are giving it a chance. They're realizing that part of it, I think, is. There's so many bourbons that are good, not very expensive, but good, that go on allocation that you just can't get anymore. Like I up until about halfway through this last year, I always had a bottle of Weller Special Reserve on mine. It wasn't expensive. It was $18 for a bottle. It's fantastic. And then, damn it caught on.
Yeah, right. Sometimes you almost
Now you
don't
can't
want
find
to
the
share.
damn thing.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes you almost don't want to share when something's really good
I
and
know.
inexpensive
And,
because of
and
that.
so like, and
Hey,
I
I
think
need to quit talking about all this gin. That's going to end up coming up. It's
Exactly.
one of the good value propositions we can get out there, guys.
I know,
so
exactly.
your neighbors make a gin. Eighth Wonder makes a hop gin that's outstanding. It's just such a bizarre thing to say, but gin it has a lot of floral to it anyway, and the hop gin is just so good. Like, as weird as that, we tried a hopped whiskey on here a couple years ago,
and it was not good.
terrible.
It was not good at all. That
No,
doesn't
I
mean
think
that
the
all.
gin lends itself a
But
little
the
bit
gin
better
is
to that.
different, yeah.
Somebody might still be able to do that. I mean, the Glenfiddich IPA
That wasn't
whiskey
bad.
I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I love that whiskey. That's just got, but that's not necessarily hopped. It's just rested in IPA casks. So so this beer is a Belgian Golden Strong, which is the same as the last beer.
Correct.
But this has been resting in cognac barrels for 18 months.
Right?
Correct?
Can you taste it?
Oh,
So I gotta. So I'll let everybody know if you this beer took on the character of
Wow.
the cask like
Was the-
like unlike anything we've seen before.
This is almost as
did
if
you say the base of this was a Belgian?
It's a Belgian Golden Strong. So the
Yeah.
base of it's about 9% already, right? The other one, like the port, again same base. It gained about 1% or so with the port. This one, the cognac, it's about 14%. So this is 14% ABV. It's the biggest beer we've put out, and again, unlike anything we've seen, it took on the characteristic of that barrel
I was gonna
in
say.
a way that if you're not a cognac or brandy fan, you're probably not going
You're
to
not
be
gonna
into this
dig
one.
it, yeah.
Now, if you are, if you like the yak, this is it
if
for you.
cognac were a beer, this is what it would be.
At 100%.
You know,
Yeah.
it's so, wow. I don't know if I've ever experienced a beer that had been in a cask that had taken on that much of the
oak-
characteristic.
The oak in here is so prevalent too. Like it's such a huge oaky flavor.
It's very dry.
But it's
It
not.
almost-
But it's not a burnt kind of charred oak. It's a very oaky oak.
It almost
Yeah,
makes you
light-
feel like
it's a light oak, right? And a nice kind of warming with the alcohol in there. Dries out a little bit, but
it
doesn't
almost,
leave you.
almost makes you
strained.
feel like you should be taking really small sips like you would a cognac instead of a larger drink that you would of a beer, right?
Yeah.
But
Well,
you can.
Right,
It's
right.
fine if you do.
That's
I'm
because you only poured
picturing
me
this.
two ounces.
I'm picturing this with the 45th anniversary per Joan.
Mhm.
Like that's the kind of thing that I think would go with this in such a way.
Yeah.
That's a special occasion cigar with an occasion series
beer, yeah. And
beer
we
that I
designed
think-
these to end up having good pairings. You know, I think both these lend themselves to really seeking out, you know, those food pairings, cigar
Oh,
pairings,
creme brulee
alcohol
with
pairings.
this?
Yeah. It is. So that's a good point. I
like
will.
a sip of this and then
Yeah.
crack through the crust on
So
it.
again, and just to delve a little bit more into the characters, just saying cognac, it is a little bit more sweet forward, right? So you get a different kind of sweet character on the front end. It's like we said, got nice oak elements throughout, very dry, crisp finish there. Goes great, I would say, as a dessert or aperitif type beverage. I would certainly save this one for maybe after the meal.
I love sweet, sticky beers. I do. I love barley wines. I love Belgian ales. I love those kind of things. I love in this particular offering here that the oak in here just kind of like you get that sweet, round Belgian feel, and then you get that cognac warmth in the flavor, because Belgians are generally a much brighter flavor because they're very fruity. So you get that cognac warmth, and then that oak comes in and just goes, you know what? We're not leaving it that sweet for you. It's so nice.
Yeah, and you'll tell that this is a little lower carbonated as well, right? So this allows it to,
This
again,
is
just kind of
very
sing
low
through.
carbonated. And I like it. So I'll pour beers sometimes for friends, and they'll be like, "There's no carbonation in that," and they'll say a kind of a negative thing, and I'm like, "I know, like, I'm okay with that."
Yeah. So not still, obviously. There is a little bit of bubble there, but again, very smooth, quiet character. Lets the cognac and the barrel kind of sing through.
We've talked about this before, Ian, but the American-style barley wines versus the regular barley wines. One of the reasons I think that you don't like the American styles as well is because they are higher carbonated. And it seems to mess with that just sort of purity of flavor with the barley wines. It's sounding like I don't like carbonation. I do, but I just like it at the right balance.
It's different for different beers. Barley wines don't need a lot of carbonation to get their flavors across. I think the biggest problem with an American-style barley wine is you take a perfectly good beer, and much like a Mexican lager, where before you even taste it, you stick lime and salt in it, you take a perfectly good beer, and then you put this disgusting amount of hops into it.
So it's the hops, really. See, for me, it's the carbonation.
We never made a barley wine. Yeah, I mean, so we haven't messed around too many meads, barley wines, different things. Obviously, we're venturing in a lot of different directions as it is. But
we do you know Joel from Eureka Heights? Mm-hmm. Okay, so he came on the show and co-hosted it with me when he was out of town, and we cleared out some beers out of his walk-in.
that doesn't. We just cleared out whatever was in there.
No,
I don't know what he brought.
No, we tried like 16 different beers.
That's kind of what they did, though.
No, it's a ridiculous show.
Yeah,
But,
and some of them weren't still good.
We had, let me put it this way: there was a 2008 Sisyphus.
Nice.
It was still good, and by the way, the 2012 wasn't as good.
Yeah?
Now Joel liked it. I didn't like it, but the 2008 was delicious. I don't know.
You never know.
You never know.
It is a food product at the end of the day, right?
Right.
Exactly. Well, and some beers obviously age better than others do.
Right.
So it really does.
And this
depend.
is another one that you can hold on to. It'll age very well. It'll continue to mature.
Well, Belgians in general, Belgian-style, Belgian-based beers do tend to age well as well.
Generally speaking, yes. Now these two are about to come out. You said, is that right?
Yeah, these will be coming out in the next couple weeks.
And obviously they're limited. Do you plan on continuing? In other words, when these sell out, will you replace them with more newer things that you're trying? In other words, is this an ongoing idea to be putting out these bombers?
Yeah, it is. So the larger format bottles here, 500, 750 milliliter. We're trying to get into more of a 1 month, maybe every 1 month cycle. Like I said, we have these coming out this month. Last month we had our collaboration with Eighth Wonder actually come out, which was another Fooder barrel aged number. Next month we have 2 or 3 thereafter. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, we're definitely looking at trying to make this a more permanent, development, in that we have more cyclical options. That being said, these are long lead items. Like I said, this is an 18-month
Right, this has
age
been
process.
resting for a while. Yes.
So, and we've backfilled those, but in order to taste those, and it's all at the end of the day, and I think most brewers would say this, especially when it comes to these long-term kind of format bottles, we, the beer kind of tells us when it's ready.
I love
right?
that.
So we have to
love
taste
that.
it. We taste it, every 2-3 weeks. See what's happening
Your job
inside
is
the
very
cask.
hard.
I know it's so difficult.
I honestly, but I love when beer talks to you because beer does.
It does, yes.
Beer does talk to me. In fact, usually it says "drink me," is what it usually says.
Hopefully, by the time we've gotten it to you, that's what it's telling you. Because I'll tell you, sometimes we have it, and it goes, not now.
Not yet.
So you mentioned doing a
Still
collaboration, a collaboration with Eighth Wonder. I've always wondered this because I've seen a number of brewery collaborations. I've tasted a number of them. A lot of them have been quite good. How does that happen? Does one of you call the other? Are you out at a bar someplace
Hey,
drinking
buddy.
together? And yeah, right. Like how does a collaboration between you guys and Eighth Wonder happen?
Yeah, sure. I just sent out a mass email to all the no, I'm just joking.
Hey, listen, we do that here. We send out a mass email to all of our guests and go, okay, we're booking new shows. And then people go, hey, I got something new.
Fair
I'll
enough,
come
fair
in.
enough,
So nothing to be embarrassed about there.
Yeah,
But,
no. So Eighth Wonder are our neighbors, right? They're one block
Right.
up. So we've known them in the community for a long time. And then honestly, as you guys are well aware, I think we've talked about this before, there's the brewing community is really tight-knit, and
Right.
without being, exclusive. Everybody knows each other. They're very welcoming. You're coming into the market, new breweries coming in there.
So
we
because you
offer a
guys
hand
are-
and they help out.
So
back.
because you guys are so close, it's not like that scene in Anchorman where the two different stations
right.
meet up.
Yeah, all the stations end up
Right.
meeting up, bringing their billy clubs.
Or in West Side Story, where
Right.
they were on.
We don't
it's
have that
not
much
like
rhythm.
that.
No.
Yeah. By the
Everyone's
way,
much happier to be around.
you
each
said
other.
West Side Story, which just reminded me. I watched In the Heights, and it's wonderful. It's on HBO Max.
I don't know that one.
It's
a newer one.
Lin-Manuel Miranda, who did Hamilton. This is his newest thing.
Oh,
and It's In the Heights. It's definitely worth watching. But as far as like collaborating with other breweries, I think it's just such an interesting. So then, how does it work? Does one brewmaster take the lead? Do they both get together at one of the breweries
Sure, yeah.
and start planning and plotting what to do?
Sure, yeah. Honestly, you've got the tail of it right there.
I love it. I love
so generally speaking, you pay it forward, right? So you'll end up hosting at your place or vice versa, and then when the next one comes around, you'll host at the other place. So when I
so
say
cool.
host, I mean brew, right? So
Right.
so if we're doing a brew, we'll do. We've done a few of these. I'll take one other example, Great Heights, right? So we did a brew with
Love those
them.
guys. Yeah.
Great Heights. They brewed a beer that we collaborated, worked on together. Usually, whoever's brewing the beer at the host location ends up, coming up with the basis of the recipe, or maybe working off of something with the collaborator that is more in their wheelhouse. So we have one coming up where we're going to end up doing kind of our biggest stout ever. It's going to be 15-16%. Ooh, I love
Oh
the
my
sound
God,
of that.
Ian! Did you hear that?
Yeah.
A 15-16% stout.
And it ended up being a longer boil, and we have somebody coming in that is more particular and educated and have done a lot of these before. So they're
Right,
going to bring
right.
that skill set to
That's
us.
awesome. Yeah,
right.
that's
And now
awesome, yeah.
hopefully we'll retain some of that, be able to develop and fold that into our future production
That's
of those
awesome.
particular styles of beers. For
That's awesome.
the
I
one
love
that we just did with Eighth Wonder, it was a little more peculiar and interesting because of the way that we have our wild, sour, funky stuff. That we were able to do kind of dual release, where they did a batch at their place, we did a batch at ours, and we both released the same day, which is not usually what you see because you don't want to compete.
Interesting. Yeah,
you don't want to
right,
both
right.
do it and then
Yeah.
the public or anybody come together
Trying to
and
figure
then
out which one to buy.
Right. But in this scenario, we were able to do something, really add a lot of different characteristics through the yeast, funky Brettanomyces and Foeder character there. Release at the same time, and now if you did a compare and contrast, you're looking for different things.
Sure.
Right? So
Right.
by the very nature of what we did with the beer, which is
Love
very
it.
unique and something we were able to do, and we're going to end up continuing to do. We have one with Eureka coming up. We've got honestly a bunch of different collaborations in the next 6 months or so that we're looking to
Hey, listen,
excite in the market.
Hip hop's been doing it for a decade. And
Right.
it works for them, right? People get introduced to new artists because they're teamed up with an artist they know, and it kind of spreads the love. You know?
Right. And we do the same. That we've got Whitmire's barrels that we're playing with, and good with those guys.
Man,
same thing
their
with
single barrel
Oh, yeah.
is
Yeah.
so good.
yeah. Yellow Rose as well, same thing. We're just working with these guys. We've got good information or good products that we're working on good products they're coming out with the barrels themselves and the product, and then we reuse those and work on different levels of collaboration.
So
efforts.
when the Yellow Rose barrels were scheduled to arrive, did they actually show up?
We went and picked them up.
Oh, okay. That's probably best. Okay, and we'll just leave that right there. Ian, I think you missed all of that, didn't you?
Who?
I did. Sorry, I was looking at some. I just caught up with like all of a sudden a bunch of the
The comments on
comments popped up here.
yeah.
So
Anything worth sharing?
well, so Liliana Rodriguez,
Our tequila expert.
tequila expert, says Anejado means aged for at least a year.
Okay, there you go. Thank you.
Same.
And she would
Yeah.
know. She's the one that would know. By the way, we didn't get a chance to share this last week. My wife actually pointed it out to me in last week's show notes that Bruce on Stark, one of our most loyal listeners, we were talking about martinis last week, and Bruce made a comment that I thought was one of the best show note comments ever. He said, martinis are like women's breasts. One is not enough, and 3 is too many. I thought that was great, right? All right, so we're talking rum here, Ian. This is the Brugal 1888 Doblemente Anejado. It's from the Dominican Republic, and it is all wrapped up in string.
Now you already know a little bit about this because you went through all the pains of making sure that the wax was out of the way and the
good
neck
like
of the
that.
bottle was cleared so
I'm
it
good
wouldn't
like that, yeah.
spill or anything like that. But I want to tell you, this is like caramelized brown sugar.
Isn't it, though? Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
It's not-
And
Never
had it yet.
cinnamon.
It's not super sweet, even though you were right about the brown sugar, but it's not. Some rums have a real distinct sweetness to them. This one strikes me as a little less that way, but you get that caramel, and you get the almost like a molasses to it.
It is, and that molasses is definitely there, but this is also unapologetically rum.
Oh yes, it is.
Like it is like
Oof. Easy drinking.
this is and it's a little too easy probably to drink.
What?
But this is like when you think rum, this is what it should smell like.
When one of the things I find the most interesting about it is that in the initial sip, it tastes like rum, but you don't necessarily get all the complexity of the flavors. You get that a moment later on the finish. When that finish comes back, it is so rich and complex. It is. This is really good.
There's the retrohale on this is like vanilla and
caramel.
and like and a caramel and like a kind of a toast
Yes,
almost.
Cinnamon
Absolutely.
toast, yeah.
Yeah, like,
cinnamon toast. I like it.
it's really
definitely
interesting.
there. Now, this is the Brugal 1888. Kind of a nondescript bottle. I mean, it's very pretty, but it's not necessarily a big flashy sort of a bottle. And this is rum from the Dominican Republic. One of the interesting things that we found out, with our buddy Docs from Plantation Rum, is how interestingly different rum is from the different but very close together countries where most of it comes from. And it's really interesting. A Jamaican rum will be very different from a
This
Dominican
doesn't
rum
have any of that rum funk.
or something.
No.
Like
it
this
doesn't.
this is missing
Right.
that. This is all on the sweet side
That
of rum.
Very
that rubbery
sweet,
funk,
cane sugar sweet.
Yeah, very, very much.
Yeah.
Very good. By the way, this Scout Mexican style lager works really well as a palate cleanser on that.
Well, yeah, with the rum, yeah.
That's good. Yeah. The bottle here, and honestly, the flavor
And
a little
goes
bit.
well with the rum.
Yes,
Have
it
y'all,
does.
have y'all had the Zacapa?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It
has
reminds
the-
me.
Yeah.
It does remind me a little bit of the Zacapa, actually. The Zacapa is actually quite good.
Right, and a good value proposition again.
Yeah,
I'm always
boy,
looking for the good.
Boy, you're not kidding. And this rum, by the way, $36 for that bottle.
Nice.
So it's not an expensive. I did see, by the way, a bottle of the rum that Docs and Plantation guys did with our buddy Chris Hart and the Houston Bourbon Society. I did see a bottle of that at Specs. It was $144.
Yeah.
So you're talking, I'm going to just say it's worth it.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
you are talking,
Three times a great bottle of
right. You're talking
rum
3
already.
bottles of this or a bottle of that. You're talking Reserva de la Familia prices.
Well,
you know?
yeah.
So But it
I
has
gotta
to do
tell
with
you,
the
I've got
aging
that-
and all
I've
that.
got
you
that
know?
Florida Cagna 25 at the house.
Dude, you still have some of that?
Holy cow, yes.
Do you?
Like I covet that. That's like
That is, yeah. I'm.
I only drink it with some Coke and
Yeah,
no, I'm just joking.
and some lime and salt. Some lime and salt. No,
Cuba Libre.
I only use it to mix up margaritas from a mix.
My Florida Cagna 25 has been gone for a long time. Sometimes I look at the little box it came in wistfully.
No,
You keep the
covet-
boxes.
I
Oh,
covet-
I hate to
this-
see your garage.
In this case, I don't keep. I keep 2 boxes. I kept that one, and I keep any of the Reserva de la Familia boxes because they're
They're so
pieces
pretty,
of
yeah.
art,
Right.
And they
Well,
change
plus
every
the,
year.
the
so.
Florida Cagna one, they inscribed smoking and toasting on a bottle
Yes,
for
I know,
us,
it
which
was
is really
awesome.
nice.
Yeah, so I actually kept the bottle too.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
unfortunately.
What's the
Sadly empty.
the tequila azul? Is it that come in like the really nice
Yes,
bottle?
yes,
And that's the
I-
only. I think we got 1 or 2 of those floating around.
I've never
So,
had that super
The
expensive
first
tequila.
bottle of the Florida Cagna 25 that I had, this is such a funny story. I brought to my brew club meeting. I'm in a brew club called the Connoisseurs Club of Smoking and Drinking, CCSD. If you see that
Okay.
on shirts around or anything like that. But I had this bottle that I got from Gonzales, Texas. This bottle of rum from a distiller out there, and it was bad.
I remember you talking about this. Yeah,
And I don't mean
Sorry, that
a
lead up.
little bit. I mean, like when you pop the bottle, it was like, is that actually just fuel?
right. Kind of like that.
It was
Ethanol.
quite literally the worst rum I think I've tried. And I had that, and I had about a half a bottle of that Florida Cagna 25. And so as a fun thing to do, I brought both of those up, and I said, okay, guys, I want you to try this. And here's the other end of the spectrum.
Right. You
See
know,
who got confused, and then
That's-
cut him out of your life forever.
that's actually quite an experiment.
That
quite
that
a
was
display.
literally one side to the other. That'd be like trying a Oli 800 next to anything you brought here. You know? It's like,
exactly right. It's exactly right. Well, my friends, the time is drawing near that we have waited for and anticipated for really all of the time since last week's show.
Oh.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll do a quick palate cleanse, and we'll do your drinking news.
Let's do it.
We'll be right back at Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting, show number 241. We are brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com. Great shirts for cigar lovers on the web. They are a sponsor of the show, so please support them since they support us. MyCigarShirts.com, because cigars. Yeah, Michael Duckworth.
I
From,
have my mouth full of rum.
it's quite all
when you
right,
did
and
that.
it's really good rum, isn't it? Oh, man. We were talking about this. Like, I wouldn't have batted an eye had this been a $50 bottle.
A super quick shout out, by the way. I poured some of this Mexican style lager into just one of these little taster cups and set it off to the side because I wanted to try it when it's room temperature, and it stands up. It's still good.
Well, I mentioned this to
Thank
Michael
you.
during the break. I think this may be my favorite Mexican style lager ever. Like, I just really
really good.
like this.
All
It is really, really delicious. So, all right. So we still have some tasting to do. I noticed this is one of my favorite kind of bottles because the label is like blue painter's tape.
Are you gonna
You
actually
should
put it on the
totally-
shelf with
You
that?
should
I think
totally
we
do that.
just do it.
You
Just
should
do it.
totally do that. It's on. I would immediately walk to the shelf and pick this up
All
and
right.
look at it. But I would want a little more info about what it was.
Although you
But
need
still.
to invest in green tape to keep in.
That is true. Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is once again the time that we seem to find ourselves at every week. It's time for drinking news.
Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When I asked about his absent arm, he said,
Found a gator in my boat.
No,
in my
no.
bet. I messed it up.
I had to take my gator
When
to
I
the vet.
asked
I had
about
to-
his
oh,
absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
There you go.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Ian, I do think you should write a new verse though, because I have found a gator on my boat. I like that. That would totally work.
I actually I have one sketched out, and it's about those little motorized coolers that people were riding around for a while. It's about a guy taking one of those on the freeway.
That's a Florida man story right there. That is
Took a
Florida
gator
man
on my
story.
float.
Well, we remind you that Drinking News, which has turned in against really all odds, has turned into one of the most popular segments on the show.
Yes.
Drinking News is basically the time each week when we share a story with you that is sometimes, but not always, about drinking, but is always probably most easily enjoyed when you are drinking.
And
so-
influenced by those who were drinking.
And usually
Generally
influenced
speaking,
by those who are drinking.
There's generally some drinking going on somewhere, somehow. A Nashville woman is suing Tennessee officials after her vanity license plate reading 69 PWNDU was taken away a decade after she first registered it.
Pwned.
When the young woman named Leah purchased a vanity plate to celebrate her interest in astronomy and gaming, it did not occur to her that her constitutionally protected speech could land her in jail, her lawyers wrote in a press release. Included in the lawsuit is a copy of a letter that she received from revenue officials informing her that the plate had been, quote, deemed offensive, unquote, and was revoked. You may apply for a different personalized plate or request a regular non-personalized plate to replace the revoked plate, the letter continues. The law requires you to immediately return the revoked plate. You will be unable to renew your vehicle registration until the plate has been returned. Now, the lawsuit argues that this revocation, before a hearing that gave her a chance to defend herself, is a prior restraint on her freedom of speech and therefore violates the First Amendment. They also argued that the state's vanity plate law is unconstitutionally too vague under the 14th Amendment and violates her right to due process. Now, here's a small explanation. Her lawyers describe her as an astronomy buff and a gamer.
Can I jump in real quick, Chris?
Yeah.
All right, so because I remember I read this,
Okay?
and I have to speak for the NASA crowd. 1969.
Yes. That's the year of the moon landing.
The year of the moon landing. It's
Exactly.
69.
So they explained that. The reasoning for the replate, which you first, got a decade ago, combines the year of the moon landing, 1969, with a common gaming term, PWN. Now, this term, which is an intentional misspelling of the word own, O-W-N, is usually used in the past tense to put someone down who just lost. The losing player got owned, or PWNED. It's a gaming term.
Yeah, we
So-
own those Russians.
So
Right.
PWNDU, therefore, might be something that she would say after winning a game. The term has even made its way into the official Oxford Languages Dictionary, defined as, especially in video gaming, to utterly defeat an opponent or rival, completely get the better of. So a spokesman for the Department of Revenue says the agency does not comment on ongoing litigation, but says state law allows it to revoke vanity plates that may carry connotations that are offensive to good taste or decency or are misleading.
Well, do they state what the state says it actually is supposed to mean?
I don't know. We've got, and did you put the image up already? Yeah. So there's an image of the license plate. It says 69 PWNDU. So
Owned you.
Here at Drinking News, we're not sure why 69 owned you would be considered offensive. Now, we all know what 69 can refer to, but we're not Bill and Ted, and that number combination is you'll find that number combination in plenty of license plates, right?
Right?
I've seen that.
I think randomly it gets
Yeah.
inserted in there, right?
Surely they must have been thinking that it stood for something else.
It
Right.
has to, and stop calling me Shirley.
We can only guess, but perhaps they thought that 69 PWNDU stood for 69 penises with no discernible underwear. Or 69 playful widows never do undress.
How is it offensive?
Or maybe they thought it stood for 69 pretty waitresses now dating Usher. I don't know.
Same time.
69, perhaps we never did undulate. Could be. 69, please.
I want to know what the state
We can only
says.
guess. That's what I'm we're
like.
trying
I
to.
want them to own that. I want them to say this is what we think it means,
Maybe
and then
we've-
put it in type and say it out loud.
Maybe they thought it meant.
she's gonna yell her patriotism from the high
That's
hill. I
right.
mean, that's what she's already been doing for a decade.
Maybe-
We own the Russians in '69. That's all
right.
she's saying.
That's right. Maybe they think it means 69. Please, will nobody drop ukuleles?
You can stand behind that one.
Or
I'm here.
Or maybe 69 persnickety wellness nurses, doctors undressed.
Oof.
That could be a little scandalous, right?
Right.
How about 69 platypuses with no dong underneath?
Platypi.
That's obviously it.
For
Yeah.
the record, platypi.
Platypi, thank you. I could go on, but that would be like 69 perfect wallabies now doing the unthinkable. So I guess it's just time to say that, ladies and gentlemen, is your
Drinking news. That was time for drinking news.
cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
So what was your favorite? Will nobody drop ukuleles?
I like to know nobody drop
Yeah.
ukuleles. Dude, I just gotta say, because we all know the government is notorious for like, we're taking that away and we're not gonna explain.
Right. Yeah. Why should
I
they?
want
They're the
them to
government.
say why.
What
Right.
I want them to
what
come
was it about 69 PWNDU?
Because okay, so we
I think
understand her
you're
reason
right.
for that.
69, we owned you because we landed on the moon.
For a decade, she
It was,
drove around.
it was
with
the space race, right?
Obviously.
Here's the
They
deal.
called it that for a reason.
If I was driving behind that, I don't think, other than maybe a fleeting 69 is a sexual reference to some
right,
people.
Right.
But well, to most people, I guess. But I don't think that license plate would come across as something offensive. So first off, the person that takes that offensive has a way dirtier mind than the person who's
totally,
putting it out
totally.
there.
It's
So-
somebody who's looking at it and thinking it says 69 platypuses
You
with
wanna
no
see-
dong underneath.
Okay, have you ever watched? You remember the PMRC? Mm-hmm. Have you ever watched Dee Snider
Oh, yeah. Testifying in front of Congress?
testifying in front of
It's
Congress
awesome.
and
It's awesome.
explaining how Tipper Gore has a dirty mind because she thinks,
Yeah.
it's brutal,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's an amazing, because it is an amazing thing. You know what? If I put out something that has the number 69, and you're immediately thinking sex, that's not on me, buddy. That's on you.
Sure, yeah.
69,
And
dude.
why is it offensive to you? Because you're uncomfortable with the way you're thinking.
Right. Exactly.
So now I have to change what I do because the way you think. Wow.
And I would even say in current context, colloquial kind of usage, 69's kind of, I mean, up until
That's-
like Bill
that's
and
kinda
Ted.
has been.
Yeah.
It
You
is.
know?
I mean, like Beavis and Butthead. When's the last time that we were
Right.
getting excited about
Right.
69?
It's kind of a junior high thing,
Right.
almost, you know?
If that
Right.
even,
Yeah.
I would even say the current generation. They don't
Yeah.
even. I mean, they're not getting excited by it
Whatever.
at all.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
But there is a whole society that just wants to be offended by everything.
Well, yes, we have plenty
You know,
of
the
that here.
victim mentality is
It's alive and well, my friend.
Yes.
It's alive and well. Well, anyway, hope you enjoyed the drinking news for this particular week. We are enjoying. This is really interesting, Michael, because when we had you scheduled to come on the show, it did not occur to me you'd be bringing barrel aged beers. So this is a wonderful surprise. The two that we've tried so far, you mentioned, are about to come out. Correct.
Correct.
Now I noticed that the next one has a
Lacking a label.
has no label yet. Is this one further away?
Further away, yeah.
That one has
next-
a more earthy kind of label.
I
more,
dig it. I dig it. You know?
Yeah, straight out of the
This
tap.
is, in fact, I think you should offer it. Maybe like when you get a really cool label for it, you should offer it with that and with this. Because see, I would love to buy one of these.
Well,
and when somebody like Ian comes over, I'd be like, look what I
You know the
what I
term
got.
where
So
we
super secret.
all drink or consume the label a lot of times,
We
right?
do, yes, of
Okay,
course.
I have to tell you, like as cool as these labels are,
Yeah.
when I see that,
you get really
It's
excited.
already a little more delicious.
Yeah.
I get drawn in. All right, look.
Just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't want to tell you guys how to market. You're obviously doing a great job with your packaging and marketing, but
We'll sneak the government warning on there somewhere, and then we'll be good. That's it. That's it.
It's under the cap. Don't worry.
yeah. Maybe you could just put like a little chip under there or something, and when you pop the top, it could be a recording of Ian reading the government
You know
warning.
how when you get a Glencairn glass, it says the Glencairn in the
yeah.
bottom
Yeah,
of
yeah,
it?
yeah.
That's where the government warning needs to be, right?
Right, and we know it at this point, don't we?
Yeah,
I'm
well.
pretty sure.
Or you could put like at the bottom of the bottle, if you can like see that when you get to the bottom when you drain it, you can just put "You're in big trouble."
Yeah, right.
All right, so Ian, are you opening this one, or are we?
Ooh, here, yeah,
however
he's
you
the
wanna do it.
expert. The expert.
All right, so I'm gonna do a little palate cleanse here with the Scout.
Oof, nice sound. That was good. Oof.
Oh man,
Yeah.
you're pretty good at that beer opening thing.
You know, I practice it.
At home.
I do at home, and I'm not as good as some bartenders that I've seen, because I've seen some pretty efficient bartenders. But
You know, that gives me an idea for a fun show. We get bartenders from different bars around the city, right, to come in, and we see who can do the best opening of bottles and cans, and maybe even like liquor bottles too. You know, the pop of the corks.
okay, now I don't know why that just made this pop into my head. You know what we need to do? We need to have all the bartenders we know submit a bartender story,
Oh, I like that.
and we can have drinking
bartender
news
story.
and bartender
Bartender
stories.
stories could take over drinking news.
Bartender
as the new,
tales, so
the
to
new
speak.
most popular.
Right.
Yeah. 'Cause you
Allow
know.
them to be as local as possible and use as many names as they'd
Yeah,
like.
that's right.
Bartender
It'll
tales.
skyrocket to the top.
Yeah, you guys will never guess what happened when Amy Smith came in last year.
I know her.
Exactly.
Todd.
That's with
good.
2 D's, by the way.
All right, yes.
Always
All
is.
right, so the only thing it says on this label is BBA densified.
Correct. So we
What
have
does that
a.
Oh, it smells like burnt coffee beans, and like in
so
the
we
best
have
way.
we have a base beer called densified propellant.
Okay.
So densified propellant, again, NASA term, it's rocket
Yeah.
fuel, right? It's
Rocket
the
fuel,
base
sure.
rocket fuel, right? So it's a stout. It's 11.2% naturally, right? So now we stuck in a bunch of bourbon barrel age. Where actually I don't have any more information on here because we need more information on it.
It is.
This is about somewhere between 13 and 14%.
It's
I want to
beautifully
say.
boozy.
Yeah, it's it was aged again about close to 14 or months or so in the bourbon barrels themselves. Wow. So year plus. I actually haven't tasted it in a month or two, so I got to
right.
do it now.
So
All right,
I don't
talk
know.
to
You let
what
me
you-
know what you think.
Dark chocolate,
Yes.
roasted coffee beans,
Yeah.
charred.
Almost overly roasted coffee
Charred
beans,
oak.
but,
There's a
I mean
little
that in a
smoke.
wonderful
Yeah.
way.
There's a little smoke in there somewhere that, like, I don't know where that's coming from. But
Right in
man,
the barrel.
it
A
is
little
like, it is rich. It is super rich.
I
Like
gotta tell you.
it is
Yeah.
super rich, like a malt, and it's very malt, not chocolate on the big round richness.
I feel like I'm sitting next to a roasted fire right now.
Yeah, for sure.
It warms me
There's-
up from the inside
There's
out.
almost a powdered sugary topping kind of flavor to this.
You know what I
Or-
really
You know what
Yeah,
I'm talking
yes,
about? Like it has a
absolutely.
very
Absolutely.
specific, like when you eat something that has just a little powdered sugar on top of it, you get that little kiss of that very specific powdered sugar flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this is fantastic.
Ian, we're bringing you in from now on. When we come up with these descriptions.
He's good
That's
like
it.
that.
Ian's coming in.
You know-
we're sending him
you know
advanced
what-
copies.
There's a little I'm not trying to just take this like way over the top. There's almost a little gingerbreadness going on in the aftertaste and in the retrohale kind of a.
You know what I really like about it is you can tell that it's boozy, but that isn't. You know, sometimes when you get something that's in the 14% range, and it's very boozy,
That's how you taste.
that kind of knocks out everything. Now you can distinctly, you can still tell the flavors that are there. But with this, I feel like you get flavor first and booziness second, which I really prefer because the flavor of that super dark roasted coffee and that really gritty cocoa is too good to be
Gritty
mixed.
cocoa's
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
dark, the little dark
Too good to be
chocolate.
mixed,
Yeah. I'd agree. I mean, this is for me, full body, full mouth, full warmth kind of coming through the chest.
So this was what barrels again?
So these are burn barrel aged. I believe these were, God, I want to say Whitmire's barrels. But I can't remember 100%. I'll have to go
And
back. and look.
Whitmire is chocolatey in the first place.
Right,
Very
it's
chocolatey.
got some chocolate notes to it. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a cold pressed coffee or cold brewed coffee kind of
Light character,
finish to this that I kind of dig too. That's really interesting. It's like, and it's the very last part of the
Right.
the like when you swallow the very finish
Yes.
of that. It's very interesting.
I absolutely dig it.
And even though, like when you pour it in the glass, it's incredibly dark. It's not as thick or viscous as you
No,
think, but it does.
You're absolutely right. It's
But
not,
it does have a big mouthfeel.
And again, when you talk about something that's 14%, you're almost expecting it to have a motor oil characteristic to it in terms of its viscosity. You know.
And we're not talking about Foster's beer cans either.
Sure, yeah. Yeah. So this is and again, a little lighter in carbonation there to allow those other elements to sing through, right? You're
No,
not
I love that
singing off
there's
the
like a
carbonation.
cinnamon kiss on the very back of this too that I'm just starting to notice.
Ian, could
Like there's a little spice to it.
And
Yes.
as it warms up, it'll get more of that, I believe.
Yeah.
Could I talk you out of an empty cup?
Oh yeah.
I want to try something here. I want to go back to just a little bit of this rum.
See, now he's making a cuvee. He's
I
putting
see
it all
where you're going with
together.
that.
Yes, we can all try this together. But
Oh, very.
the
very
rum
nice.
has got such richness to it, and I won't pour a lot, but I just want enough to.
I'm
to
kind
try
of
and
interested in
taste it a
trying that
little. Yes.
myself.
Gonna
We'll
try
see.
it all around now.
Here is a cup for you, sir.
Kind words from all. Thank you very much, Ian. You're
No, it's
already
great, sir.
hired.
It's
We're gonna
great,
start. We're gonna start sending these things your way
I can
early.
see you, Ian, showing up at the brewery for your first day at work. That'd be awesome. Yes, yes, doing the Norm move, the Norm move from Cheers.
This is me hugging the mash tun.
Yeah.
I love it.
We always know when he shows up because he's got that cigar shirt on. Cigars.com.
All right, here we go.
Actually, what's funny is they go like together incredibly well.
They really do. It's it does tamp down. It puts some chocolate into the rum flavor.
So going back to the beer afterwards, it brings a brightness to the flavor of the beer. I think it covers some of the warmer flavors and brings a brightness into it, and kind of accentuates that cold
Coffee kind of thing,
Cold
yeah.
coffee kind of
brightness is a wonderful thing.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's incredibly interesting. It gives it a twang almost like a.
You know, one of the things we enjoy doing the most here is seeing how things combine and complement each other. They don't always, but a lot of times they do, and it's a wonderful thing when you get a few of these things that sort of fit together and, as Ian likes to say, form together like Voltron, and make something
You
unique.
know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Now, now you're switching back to the Scout. We got to. Ooh, you are making a little cuvee now. It's all
Oh,
together.
All right, what are you trying there, Ian?
Yeah.
Explain yourself.
I have now poured about this much of the Mexican style lager and then filled the rest of it with it.
By
Okay.
this much, he means maybe like a 1-to-3 ratio.
I don't know how that's going to go. I'm a little worried about this.
Yeah, well, he's lighting it up, you know?
It makes it a porter and it's delicious.
Okay.
Makes it up.
I'm not joking.
Yeah,
It's
All right.
actually pretty.
Well, I
darn
mean,
good.
at this big and rich, I mean, it's going to take a lot to
Right.
dilute it down.
You can afford to bring it down a notch or two.
right,
yeah.
absolutely.
Well,
Yeah,
I
it
gotta
just
tell-
drops it straight back to porter status.
Okay, so let's talk about this. The Tart Golden Strong was the first one we tried.
That's Starport Jamboree. And you know what? I missed the whole story on the Mir. So let me tell you about the cognac real quick.
Okay.
So the Mir cognac party, that's the one we
Right.
tried last time. So the whole
Mir is the Soviet space station.
So the Mir is the space station, right?
Right, right.
And one of the stories that has kind of come to light after years have passed is that, under the American control space, we don't allow any alcohol in space. It's forbidden. Right? We don't do it. The Russians didn't feel that way. So
of course they didn't. Of course.
so when they
didn't.
came up, their their beverage of choice, their celebration beer, if you will, or not beer, drink,
Spirit.
is cognac. Right, so obviously we know it's vodka, right? But that's their everyday drinker. Cognac is what they go to when it's really a
Special
celebration,
occasion,
special
right, yeah.
occasions, right? So they brought bottles of cognac up into the Mir, right, space station.
Mm-hmm.
So occasionally, right, they'd have what we would call little Mir cognac parties, where they would invite their American colleagues over. They're up there,
Yeah.
share a little cognac with them, celebrate, the
And of
mission,
course, the Americans,
objectives.
they can't offend.
They can't offend, and they couldn't talk about it. Is the other thing. So they did it. They did it all in secret, right? And years later, now we're finding out that these things happened on Mir, right? That the astronauts were up there. They
Do you
came
mean
back.
astronauts are people too?
Yeah, and they
What?
enjoy an alcoholic beverage, okay, even in space.
Madness.
Right, so they came up there, and as a sign of camaraderie and friendship, they
Right,
shared
sure.
their booze.
International
right?
cooperation.
Which is a universal sign for all of us. How do we show that we love each other? When we,
You don't
especially when
even
we
have
go
to
abroad,
speak the same language.
have
talk
a beer
about this-
together, have a
we
drink together, and
talk
that's the
about
same
this-
thing they did
yeah.
on Mir. So I think it's amazing that that happened, A, and B, that it was unspoken of because they knew if they came back, they'd have repercussions. It was
Right,
against
right,
the
right.
protocol. They'd maybe be
So
grounded.
how
These
did
different
this
things.
eventually come to light then?
They retired.
Ah.
And then they write books and they do other things, and now we know that during these missions, there you go, that they were actually building a lot of camaraderie in different ways. So this is actually one of
love
my favorite
this.
names of kind of how we got to Mir Cognac Party, what actually happened, in building,
That's fantastic.
a better state.
How excited were the American astronauts to be? Oh, they're inviting us over for
Ecstatic,
cognac. Oh
I'm
my
sure.
God! Yeah, yes. The answer is yes. We'll be right there,
Right.
comrade.
Two shakes.
Excuse me, Houston. We can't tell them no. That would be
Right.
offensive.
No, that would be an international.
These are international
incident.
relations. These are interstellar relations.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love it. I love it. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back for our final segment. We've got Starport Jamboree, we got Mir Cognac Party, and we've got something called BBA Densified, which I'll
Bruce
allow
Stark
you to.
says, "Seems to me we could turn this big center console area into a mega twirly gig."
Perhaps
We'll
we
mix
should.
these drinks up.
And we'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting.
If you haven't met Mr. Twirly. The best thing I've found about those buttons is every one of them you push will turn it on.
Oh, eventually, yeah, something.
Gotta love it, yeah. That's like my garage remote. All the buttons open the door. I don't know what that means.
You have one job.
Love it.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. This is the radio program, podcast, and other general foolishness that is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Man, have we enjoyed some great craft beer today.
Man,
Some great barrel aging.
All
going
the
on
high
here.
proof, just to make sure you did
Yep,
enjoy
yep.
yourself.
My drink is broken.
Ugh, let me
what's wrong
fix
with
it.
your
Let me
drink,
fix
Ian?
it.
I think the cup has a leak.
It's okay. This bottle has a hole too. I'll
Like,
have
if
to see
you,
them
if you
get to meet
notice,
each
the whole
other.
top of this is wide open, and the drink just keeps pouring out of it.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, that's what I've heard. So, tell me again what the ABV is on this densified.
It's going to be
Big.
about 14%. We got it off for testing right now.
Okay. So the Tart Golden Strong Starport Jamboree and the Mir Cognac Party, the Belgian Golden Strong, these you mentioned are just about to hit stores. How long until we see the densified?
End of August.
End of August. That's not far away.
That's not far.
I want to point out, if you are a fan of cognac and a fan of beer, you should absolutely buy that.
The Mir Cognac Party.
What's the price point on that Mir Cognac Party?
Same, 16.
16-ish?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Totally worth it,
That
yeah.
is something to totally sit and share and really enjoy. I don't know what button you're hitting on there, but it turns about half and then stops.
This worries me
this
a
was a
little
little
bit
slower.
because
There we go.
it worries me a little bit because that's what the original Mr. Twirly gig did before he died.
No, I think
Oh,
I think it's user error.
Oh, no.
You just have it on slow speed.
Yeah.
Hey, here we go. How about we lighten the load? Let's see what happens then. Huh? Little twirly guy. All right. No.
Okay, he's worrying me. He's
He's
worrying
wearing
me.
it.
now. This
And
is
that's
son
how
of
I
Twirly
buy
gig.
a new twirly.
You know what?
It's the junior.
Oh yeah. Anyway,
son
We're
of
gonna do it.
Godzilla Twirly gig. Michael, this has been just so much fun. I
Brian.
really-
Wiki Brian says that's also Ian's dating advice. Push all the buttons, it'll turn them on.
We sure appreciate you coming on and sharing these brews with us. This is really wonderful stuff, and I just love how you guys are not allowing yourself to be pigeonholed as just like the IPA company or you're really branching out, going into all different areas of brewing and styles of beer, and I think this is just tremendous. I hope that this gets you the recognition that you really deserve.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Also, for those of you like me and Wiki Brian who like to go into a brewery and not just see a whole slew of IPAs,
But
this
I
is
love
a
that.
place to go.
I love
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
I love seeing a slew of
we've
IPAs.
got
What's wrong with this?
We've got usually about 16 or so beers on tap. Again, a few of those are IPAs, most of them aren't. We've got a lot of Belgian, Saison, French style stuff,
I'm just
sour.
Pointing out the
you guys do great sours.
popularity of IPAs, and what happens is when you walk into most breweries with 16 taps, 14 of them will be IPAs, one of them will be a light beer, and one of them will be a stout.
And this is bad because?
Well, that's
No,
not a place for me.
but diversity.
This place is different. Like actually, so what's fun about your place is you walk in, you have your basic IPAs. You also always have 2 to 3 Belgians, and I love Belgian ales.
that is
Absolutely,
very
yeah.
cool.
And that makes me so happy. And then you have I'm trying to remember what I had there last time. There was a couple stouts on tap.
A few different sours, a few different wilds. We usually have a
Right.
number of bottle offerings like we've highlighted here today.
And also, you guys are right there by Eighth Wonder. So I'm sure you guys get, because I do this a lot. Like if I'm like in brewery mood, I'm going to go to a brewery, then I'll walk to another brewery and back and forth. And you guys got
Makes
to get
sense,
back
yeah.
and forth traffic. And you have that. Last time I was there, you had a great pizza place right across the street.
Vinny's still there.
Oh man. And we ordered a pizza and just sat there. They came over. They sat it right down on the table.
Yeah, we partner with those guys. We generally try to carry their
That's-
menus, just make
that's
it easy for
fantastic.
everybody.
Yeah, it's so nice because you guys don't have to worry about the food, but then they're coming over, and I'm sure you guys got a great relationship. But the beer was fantastic. The pizza was fantastic.
I
We
mean,
had a
keep
great
everybody
time.
happy, right? That's all we care
also, you got that front little area where you can sit down and have a cigar if you want, right on the
about. Right on the patio.
right on the patio. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a nice little patio out
Yep.
there.
It's
All
nice.
covered up, vented, air conditioned. Not air conditioned.
I was gonna say what?
So you mentioned when we were first coming down the hall here to the studio that you've been in, I think you said Seattle, up in Washington State.
Yeah.
And you said it's not quite as opened up as we are here in Texas yet.
I'll give you a little insight. So I was there just this last week, and we actually talked to a few of the locals around. They said upwards of 600, I believe, bars, restaurants were closed. So I'll let you know that, we've traveled out a little bit. This is, I think, our first big trip, since recovery, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And we were very surprised to see just how many restaurants and bars were no longer in operation.
So they're not closed because they can't open. They're closed because
I think they're
they
closed.
didn't weather the storm
Correct.
to the end. And,
Right.
And our feelings about that are pretty strong. We are such fans of supporting your local, whatever it is, your local distillery, your local brewery, your local restaurant. I was so thrilled when Reserve 101 opened back up. That's a few blocks from me downtown, because I didn't know if they were going to make it, through the pandemic.
Here's the problem with a lot of those places. You close down, and you're not making money. Okay,
Right.
so which we all understand is a bad thing, but you got to go a couple levels deeper. If you have a commercial building and you close down and you're not making money, and you've basically told your staff, "Hey, we're not making money, so you're not making money,"
Right.
and everything else is happening. You know what happens every single month, even while you're closed down?
Rent.
The landlord.
Yes, rent.
The landlord and the bills. The electricity's
Mm-hmm.
still got to go. Like, you can't have a bar and shut down all your refrigerators.
Right, exactly.
You can't have a bar and shut down all your electricity and things like that.
Yeah.
You can't turn your water off. You just can't, because if you have a commercial property that's supposed to be open and in operation, they won't
That's
let
right.
you even do that. So you still have bills every single month. And, in a location, especially like Reserve 101, how much, I can't even imagine
what the rent would be,
what
on
their
a spot
monthly
like that,
is on that, because that is a primo spot directly across the street, downtown Houston, directly across the street from House of Blues. It's a beautiful place to go.
Yep.
And you guys are right, like you guys are just on the other side of a big building from that, basically.
George R. Brown. You might recognize it.
Just on the other side of the George R. Brown. And if any of you have driven through Houston, you see the George R. Brown. If it's on your right side, you look over to the left. You're basically looking at the rooftop of where you guys are.
Yeah. Depending on which direction you're going, right?
And all those other bars and things like that are over there. So then there's some great areas. That's a great little area you guys are in, by the way. You just walk around and have such a
it's
good
one
time.
honestly. So we love the location, still do. 100% walkable location. Out of all the areas in Houston, quite honestly, you can hit up, dozens upon dozens, honestly, of restaurants, bars, different things. Houston isn't known for its walkability, if you will.
No.
So for that particular area, we're very happy to be there. It's been working well. For everybody else that hasn't, done so hot, I hope for sure 100% they come back, help support the area. And what we've seen in other areas where, Cruze was talking about, obviously Houston weathered the storm remarkably well.
Yeah.
And what we saw in, Washington, some of these other areas, they did not. And, we're very thankful that we were able to do what we were able to do, and we're very happy that we're open today. Right. So,
and we're
excited
happy you're open too, because the beers are wonderful. Thank you so much, Michael, for being here and coming to grace us with your wonderful concoctions once again.
100%.
We
Let me do it
appreciate
again.
it. The first two will be in stores very soon. The Tart Golden Strong Spaceport Jam, as well as the Mir Cognac Party, the Belgian Golden Strong.
How fun.
And then look for BBA Densfield, about a month?
Yeah,
Is it August?
at the end of August.
End of August. So we'll look forward to that. Ian, we have a rarity next week.
What?
A very rare occurrence. It's just
In the
gonna
words
be,
of Tim Allen,
it's just going to be you and me. We have no guest.
What?
So Mr. Twirlygig will be on full display, and we'll get to take down some of these lists that I've been holding on to forever while we taste and enjoy
The very best that we have to try now, today.
Some absolute great things.
the best beers to try.
Yep.
Right now.
Still to come, Keith Taylor with Long Drink will join us in a couple of weeks, and our legal expert Trey Boring will join us to talk cigars and legislation
And cigar news, yes.
and what all of that is about. And then I think I mentioned Chris Morris will be back with our Martini special in just a few weeks. So excited about that.
All right, I'm voting gin already off the cuff.
See, it's you and Ian. You're already teaming up. I mean,
So you do realize that when you make a giant shot of gin, either shaken or stirred,
Delicious.
and sometimes it's dirty and sometimes it's not, that's called a martini.
Sure, yeah.
When you do that with vodka, it's a kangaroo.
So you're saying
That's
it's
its
not
actual
even
name.
really a
It's
martini.
not even a martini.
Ugh, Ian, I think we already won.
well, should we just not do the show then? You're claiming
No.
victory
We're
already?
going to do the show. We're going to have the drinks. We're going to figure it out. I'm not going to be here, but
I don't know
we'll
about
figure
you,
it
but
out.
I'm looking forward to just the whole process of trying to figure it out. That's just me. What do I know?
Listen, I'm just saying it sounds like it's a done deal. You do the drinks.
And every
Drink
time,
the bevs.
And every time we have Chris Morris on, something unexpected happens. So that's always something to look forward to. So, folks, have a great week. Check us out and check out our sponsor, mycigarshirts.com. Thank you for being a part of this. And thank you again. And by the way, if you have been a little shy about Mexican-style lagers, try the Scout. It's totally worth it.
I have a
Thank
river floating trip coming up that this is going to be sponsored by
That's
this.
good. I'm going to show up to that.
I love it. I think you got to get one of those really big cigars, though, that will last you for the whole float
good
down.
luck.
A 7x70, yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
my God. That's so awesome. Have a great week, my friends, and cheers, y'all.
Salud.
Woo, cheers.
Sunshine is so good to you.
So we go down the river, and I always grab like one of the most
Whatever happens, don't leave it so
like a
soon.
jam. 7x70
Some ridiculous number.